Thank you very much. All right. Do I hear a motion to come out of closed session?
I make a motion that we come out of closed session.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Daskill. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Barber. And board members, a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None. Okay, we are out of closed session. Good evening, everybody. It's good to hear the voices, and welcome to our November meeting, school board meeting for New Kent County Public Schools. Mr. Mead, could you please read the certification of closed session?
Whereas the New Kent County School Board has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and is whereas Section 2.2-3711 of the Virginia Code requires a certification by the New Kent County School Board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the New Kent County School Board hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the New Kent County School Board.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mead. Do I hear a motion to approve the certification of the closed session?
I move we approve the certification of the closed session.
All right, thank you, Ms. Barber. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. McBeath, and board members, a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. All right. And now we will rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I believe, is it Charlie Cottrell will be leading us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome again, everybody, to our November board meeting. We want to go ahead and get started with our very special guests that we have this evening. So the first item on our agenda is our school spotlight. It's good to have our school spotlight back, and we have New Kent Elementary School here this evening. So we have Dr. Amy Stamm and Ms. Hegeman, as well as the third graders from New Kent Elementary. So please go ahead when you're ready.
Well, good evening, Madam Chair, Superintendent, and all members of the board. We are so thankful we get to be here today. Dr. O'Day and myself are here representing New Kent Elementary, and we're going to give you a patriotic preview of our third graders who are performing twice on Friday. So we can't wait for you to see just a little sneak peek of what they're bringing to honor our veterans on Veterans Day. And under the direction of Ms. Hegeman. She is in her second year at New Kent Elementary, and she is just super excited about presenting and performing with our kids. So.
Thank you so much. Let's give them enough. Okay, it's always great to have our students join us at the board meetings and look forward to future guests every month. Moving along on our agenda, we are on section 3, letter B, the VSBA School Board Academy Awards. Dr. Nichols.
Yes, good evening. Each year, the Virginia School Board Association has their own version of the Academy Awards. So board members and superintendent receive awards based on their commitment to effective school board governance through their participation in VSBA School Board Academy. So it is sort of our professional development. So board members, you do have these certificates in your folders, but for the viewing audience, award of recognition goes to Ms. Swinford, our chair. Award of recognition goes to Mr. Mead, our vice chair. Award of recognition goes to Ms. Staskill. Award of recognition goes to Ms. McBeath. And the award of distinction, which is the highest honor for school board participation, goes to Ms. Barber. So congratulations to all 5 of our board members for being recognized by the Virginia School Board Association. And then Ms. Barber is one of a handful in the Commonwealth to receive the highest honor. So congratulations, board members.
Okay, thank you very much. And next on the agenda is the recognition of November as Family Engagement in Schools Month. Mr. Miller.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. I have several actual recognitions for this month. There is a big month for recognitions, so we're going to roll through a couple here. The first one is Family Engagement Month. We recognize that our partnership with parents and families is vital to the instruction of our students. And so during the month of November, it is specifically Family Engagement Month, but we do try and do activities all year long to strengthen that partnership. During the month of November, we do focus on parent-teacher conferences, which we do have some of those tomorrow. And teachers have also been taking sort of the last couple of weeks to do a lot of parent-teacher conferences after school as well to get those in. Also, we've had at our elementary schools, we've been having some family engagement activities, and those will continue over the month. One I'll just highlight is that George Watkins, we recently had a reading family engagement activity where we had the Humane Society brought out dogs, and the kids practiced reading to the dogs, and then while they were doing that, parents took part in other activities as well, and so we'll have a lot of other activities throughout the year at all of our buildings. So, but this is Family Engagement Month. So the next, if you just want me to keep on rolling through them, or okay. All right, so this is also Native American Heritage Month, and as you may be aware, we do have a number of tribes within the division represented. 4 main populations, being the Pamunkey, Mattaponi, Chickahominy, and Chickahominy East, have significant numbers of students within our schools. So we have a variety of activities that will be going on. We have displays in the hallways, especially at the high school. The middle school has a program that they'll be doing. And then also several of our tribes will have members coming out and actually speaking in some of our schools either in this month, or we're planning several over the coming months. And so excited to have their participation in the schools as well. So this is also, we have Veterans Day coming up this week. And as you saw, you got a preview today of the elementary school. It's going to have several presentations this week. And then the middle school also has their Veterans Day program coming up as well. And then all the schools are having daily announcements and recognizing veterans in general, but also spotlighting some of our veterans that are related to our kids. So our kids had the opportunity, our students did, of submitting names of family members who are veterans and their contributions, and so we're recognizing those as well. Also, the second week of November, and we have American Education Week, so there's an opportunity to recognize our different professionals within the education organizations and just recognize the efforts that they do. So,
Excellent.
thank you.
Thank you. Board members, any comments or questions?
I'm not sure if I missed it or not, at the elementary school for their recognition of veterans, they have guests coming?
Yes, yeah, I believe they do. All of them do. So yeah.
And as a matter of fact, we have a number of Team New Kent staff members who are veterans.
Yep.
So they've been doing a nice job. I was at New Kent Elementary on Friday, and Ms. Greer was speaking to kids about her experience. So we have a number of veterans, and we're doing those type of activities. We have something really special planned for social media to highlight all of the veterans that we have working in New Kent. So Ashley Meredith in Sean's department is leading that project for us. So really doing a lot of different things. And if you've never been to the middle school performance, it is quite something.
Yeah.
And I believe we have a barbershop quartet.
We do have a barbershop quartet presenting this year, and they'll be there, and I believe they'll also be visiting New Kent Elementary School after that presentation.
It's a middle school barbershop quartet.
Yes.
So
they're very excited.
who
I got to
knew?
meet with one of the students who's in it, and they were very excited about it. So it was
Yeah,
really
and I've attended the middle school celebration before, and I highly recommend it. It's really something.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Miller. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next item is the recognition of School Psychology Awareness Week. Mr. Richard Dermeyer.
Good
evening.
evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, and Dr. Nichols. It's that time of year again. So the first week of November, we celebrate National School Psychology Week. This year, the theme is Together We Shine. Last year, it was Gear Up, as students were gearing up to return to school across the nation. This year, it's Together We Shine. It's derived from how we see hope after several challenging years. For some, it has been a time of real darkness, and for finding light and critical in building resilience and hope. So indeed, working together, we shine hope and healing among our communities, schools, families, and our colleagues. Together, we shine light on setting goals for well-being, growth, and learning. So please join me this week in celebrating the work of all school psychologists, but most importantly, our two school psychologists, Dr. Sandra Ward, who has over 33 years of experience in the field, and Robin McLean, who has 31 years here in New Kent Public Schools.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, moving along, we are now section 4 under superintendent's comments. This is the opportunity to respond to citizen comments. So Dr. Nichols, when you're ready, please go ahead.
Thank you, Ms. Swinford. Typically, superintendent responds to citizen comments at work sessions. Since we haven't had work sessions, we do it at the next board meeting. So quite some time has passed. The bulk of the questions were related to SEL, social emotional learning. So what we've done, Ms. Chair, you can go ahead and click on that. Thank you. Is we posted that to board docs. In addition, the community member who asked those questions received those questions in advance too. So make sure we get the answers to not only the folks that asked the question, but also citizens as well. So that is posted there too. I believe it was 13 or 14 questions. So I won't go through all of those with you this evening, but it is posted for the public.
Okay.
There was another question, not really a question, but more of a comment related to bullying, as far as making sure that not only is it focused on the bully, but there needs to be a bigger focus on a student that is perhaps bullied. That is a big part of our anti-bullying efforts. So wanted to make that clear as well. Third comment connected to civics and the civics presentation. Every grade level, you do learn about civics. There are civic standards of learning in every grade level, K through 12. We receive those standards from the State Department. I believe we presented a couple curriculum presentations where we talk about those frameworks. And then probably happy to know that every student must pass government in order to graduate, and that is a strong civics course for every high school kid. So civics alive and well in New Kent County. So thank you, Ms. Swinford.
Okay, thank you. Board members, any comments or questions regarding the response to citizen questions? Okay, all right. Okay, we will move along to new business. I think we have 10 items under new business, so please keep me honest. Hopefully I'm not going to...
Ms. Swinford?
Yep.
I think we need to do the consent agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. See, I'm already trying to get ahead. All right, yes, item 5, consent agenda. So board members, by now you've had the opportunity to review the items listed on the consent agenda, including the minutes from previous meetings, bills and payroll, and the superintendent's recommendations regarding personnel matters. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Daskill. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mead. And board members, any discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll move towards the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? All right. And the motion carries. Next item now is new business. We have about 10 items under new business, which is a lot. Our first item is the CIP transfer request for safety and security. Mr. Jonathan Hockman.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Nichols. Tonight I bring to you a budget transfer from CIP in the amount of $44,713.97. This is for security services. Essentially what we are doing at each of our schools, we put in the new system for entry at Quinton Elementary School. It is a very good system. It's efficient. It works much better than what we have at our other schools. We're going to put that same model into all of the other schools. So that is what that request is for.
And that's specifically the phone
as anyone
system.
walks up to the front of the building, you press a button that gets you on a phone through communication to the front office. They can then see you, and what it does, it's much more effective. We've had some dropped calls. We've had some difficulty hearing each other at the other schools. This system, we've had none of those issues. It's state of the art. It will allow for a much cleaner entrance into the building and knowing who's coming in our buildings.
Okay, any questions? This does come for us as a vote for us at the end of the meeting later.
What's the anticipated time frame for implementation on this?
I would guess our goal would be to have it in around Christmas time. That's what we're going to try to do. It's supply and demand. We have the folks to put it in. If we can get the equipment, we should be all right to get it in fairly quickly.
And this is the same system going in at all 5 school buildings?
What we have at Quinton currently would be the same model going in at all the other 4 schools.
Okay, thank you. Our next item is to go back here. It is CIP transfer request for the tennis courts. Mr. Hockman again.
Yes, ma'am. And as you said, this is a budget transfer request in the amount of $62,017.64 to repair our tennis courts. They are in bad state. Actually, they were in a bad state. We were on the list to have that repair. They moved us up very quickly. I guess they finished some other jobs very quickly due to weather. Honestly, they were finishing up painting on those courts today. It looks very good. Had we not done this, I don't know that we could have hosted tennis matches this upcoming season. So we were very fortunate that we could, get this done in this time frame. So that's what the request is for.
Okay, board members, any questions or comments?
What's the lifespan again of this?
What they recommend is that every 6 to 7 years you need to have done what we just did, which is essentially a repaving, repainting, and also replacing of nets. So that is exactly what we've done here. If you wait longer than that, if the cracking gets so severe, what you have to end up doing is milling the entire court up and then repaving all the way down. It becomes a much more expensive thing, and it also takes a lot more time. So what we are doing is we're planning to include in the budget about every 6 to 7 years repairing all of our courts.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our next item is the CIP transfer request for the HVAC grant matching funds. Ms. Morheim.
Madam Chair, board members, Dr. Nichols. We have a lot of numbers tonight to talk about, so we'll just kind of go through them one at a time. The next two are kind of related. So the CIP transfer request, 1 second, is for the HVAC CSL FRF grant matching funds. We are asking to cover $617,797 out of our year-end carryover fund, which is a 100% match for the grant that we received. And this grant has to be performed by 12/31/24. So we have a little bit of time, but it's certainly something with, I think, like 50-week lead times on HVAC units that we're certainly trying to move forward very quickly.
Was that this year?
Yes.
24. Okay, 24. Okay.
And we're allowed to reimburse through 26. I am hopeful that this might be one of the grants that we can potentially get an extension on. I know everyone in the state of Virginia is ordering HVAC units, so it makes it very difficult.
Yeah, lead times are like unimaginable.
Yeah.
It was wonderful to get this grant in the amount of $600,000+ that we matched, so $1.2 million. The difficulty is other school divisions got larger grants and similar grants, so everybody's pulling on that same market, which was already strained. So.
Like, it keeps going. There were too many of them on. Do we have projects scoped out that this
Yes, we
fits?
do. So we actually had to do an application. Mr. Hockman and Mr. Pollock worked on that last fall. And the main portion of this, if you remember in our CIP, we had done like $50,000 a year to replace HVAC units in our middle school. So what this grant is able to do is replace all of the remaining units in the middle school, which is fantastic news. And also there's a little bit of work at GW as well written into that grant.
Thank you.
Okay, and the next one.
So the next item is actually the actual grant appropriation into the grant fund. So same amount, $617,797 into our Fund 2209, which is our general operating budget. And most likely at the end of the year, we will have remaining funds there, and then we'll ask you to reappropriate those into next year's budget.
Okay, any other questions on this grant fund? All right, and this does come before us for a vote later in the meeting. All right, Ms. Morheim, while we're up here, we have a few more for you. The next one is the Activity Funds Audit Report for year-end June 30th, 2022.
Yes, ma'am. Every year we have an audit, both of our general school board funds and also our student activity funds in our schools. This audit is performed in July by our same auditors, Brown Edwards, and I would like to present to the board tonight that we had no findings again this year, which is wonderful work of our bookkeepers. Shannon Walton's done a great job of really leading them, and as you know, you approved some regulations this year that we will be following, which will not make it harder for them to have no findings, but definitely things that we just want to try to follow and do consistently across the division. We have been pulling the bookkeepers together quarterly. Those meetings have been going well. I think they really enjoy getting together, trading, horror stories and things that they're dealing with in their buildings. And I just think it brings them a little bit closer and really makes us a more cohesive team across the division.
About how long does it take to complete the audit?
They come for a week. So they actually will send us a big list of things that we have to send them prior to them coming out.
And they will ask for certain things that you have ready when they come. And we usually do 2 elementary schools in one day, and then we'll have an audit for the middle school, and then the high school will be a whole day. We have our audit. It's a week in April, and then they came back. They were actually here last week. So a little bit more extensive on the general government side, but very thorough, you know.
Ms. Swinford, I think that's an important point to make, is just the thoroughness of our audit process with an external auditor that goes through not only activity funds, but our funds and those transactions, and for our team to come out with no findings. But what I love about this team, even though there are no findings, there are things that they can tighten, which Ms. Morgan and her team are doing a phenomenal job of doing that, just increasing efficiency.
One thing Shannon's going to start doing is mini audits throughout the year. We're going to start going into the schools and doing, you know, just little pop-in audits just to kind of see that we're all on track following the new regulations and kind of where we are. We've had a couple of tweaks to those regulations as we've gone, and we communicate with the auditors about those things. We like to keep the communication open with the auditors throughout the year. If there's something that we're trying to do, we try to vet it with them before they come and then tell us that we didn't do it correctly. So it's a good working relationship.
So there'll be one more school in the report next year, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And without a doubt, Ms. Marshall will do a fantastic job.
Okay, board members, any comments or questions on the audits? Okay. Next item is the year-end transfer for fiscal year 2022.
So with the audit, we finalize our fiscal status as of FY22, and our year-end balance was $583,647.98. This is about 1.6% of our revised general operating budget, Fund 2205. I like for it to be closer to 2%, but we're happy with this year-end balance. We had a lot of grants. We had about $4.7 million that flew through in ESSER and CRF and all of these related grants. So it was definitely a lot of moving and shaking and trying to figure things out and the best place to put them. But this is where we've ended, and we would like to transfer that funding into our carryover fund into the CIP account as we do year over year. With the transfers, hopefully that you all will approve this evening, the balance in that fund will be $1,411,104, and you'll see 7 items that we'd like to transfer back into the general fund for FY23. The majority of these are items that were approved last year, items that did not get completed, or orders that did not come in time. So we have to just reappropriate that funding into the new school year. One of the items I would like to point out that is a new item is the theater royalties. We do want to support our theater program with the Kent England production and purchasing this. We have done something similar in the past. So this is just a way, I know Dr. Nichols probably has the total cost, but this is just a way to support their efforts.
The partnership with Kent England, it's the first time post-COVID that we've been able to do this. So it is now in the spring where it used to be in the fall. The total cost of that, which a lot of that falls on our families and schools and raising money, is about $30,000 total. So royalties alone in doing one of those productions is close to $6,000. So we're kind of helping them jumpstart that piece. It's an incredible initiative and almost a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for kids. So we're excited that that is back. Kent England is not traveling here yet. They're still putting their program back together, but this will be our first time going in that direction. So since 2019.
I think so, yep. One other item I'll point out on here, the band uniforms. We've talked about those quite extensively. There is actually a sample that is ready that's coming into Mr. Hess. We are requesting, and this is again another appropriation of something that didn't come in, but we are asking for $10,000 more. The $40,000 really was getting him about 55 uniforms. So I'm asking tonight, instead of the 40 that was previously appropriated, that we bump that up to 50, which hopefully will just get him a little bit more uniforms for down the road and growth, and have that set for him. One other item I'll point out, Mr. Miller got a year-round school planning grant, and that's something that we have until next year to spend. So we're looking at doing more salaries and benefits for our Summer of More program, along with additional supplies. Of course, we have that also in our ESSER fund, so we need to just revisit that a little bit, see if there's anything else maybe that we can do creatively with those funds, but we have to have those spent by June 30th.
And Ms. Morgan, I'd like to be clear on that. It does say year-round school grant. We are not going to year-round
No,
school.
no, we're not.
This is our summer program, which falls under the umbrella, just in case I get those emails or phone calls. That's not the direction. It supports our summer program.
Why not? No, I'm just kidding.
Because yeah, we've got a great thing right now, so yeah.
Haney, just a quick question. When you said there's carryover funds, my assumption is that $500,000 does not include any savings that we gained from the construction project. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is a separate fund. And we did have a meeting with the Board of Supervisors Thursday and presented to them. We feel very comfortable we'll have at least $500,000 in that project, which most likely it will be more, and we'll report that when we have that for you. But those funds, we're going to be recommending that we transfer over into a school set-aside account that we have specific for school construction that we created last year. So after we transferred the money over for Quinton, if you remember last year in our year-end transfer, we put $250,000 in that account. So there's a county set-aside, and then there's still a school set-aside account that we can start building up for our next capital improvement construction project.
Okay. Any other comments or questions about any of the transfer items? Okay. Ms. Morheim, you have one more, the state appropriation and bonus structure.
This one's a little bit busy. There's a couple of items within this one memo, so let's just talk through each step. The first step is that we are asking for an additional appropriation based on our ADM. So our current, what I'm asking to bump it up to is $3,380. There were about 100 students, well, we lost about 300 students during the pandemic. And there were still about 100 that we weren't sure, they really hadn't come back. We weren't sure if they'd come back this year, if they would come back. So we think about, I still think there's probably about 30 that have not returned. So right now I'm going to ask to bump that up to $3,380. And just so you all know, we did also present enrollment projections for next year. And we think we'll be closer to about $3,496 next year. So another, 100 kids. And I think part of those will be hopefully some that may return from being out with the pandemic. So we're asking, you can kind of see a detailed list of where the revenue lines fall, and those are really revenue lines that are impacted by ADM. And then you'll see below kind of the expenses on the other side, kind of what we would like to do with those funds. One of those items is a bonus payment, and you'll see in a minute we'll talk about funds that we received from the state specifically for a bonus payment to our full-time SOQ funded positions. We are beefing that up, the dollar amount, to be sure that we can provide a bonus for all of our full-time and part-time contracted employees. So that's an additional $200,132. We also, Mr. Hockman and I have been talking to Brian Lee with SSC. We would like to also pass a bonus on to our SSC Team New Kent family that are contracted through SSC, and we're working with them to get that as a payment to them, and then they would then forward that on to those employees in their paychecks. So with that, that is a $42,240 request as well. The other remaining items really are just adding the 2 teachers that we added after the fact, after the budget had been approved. We needed them desperately. So we're building those now into our budget, and I think with the bonus, that's one-time fund, so that'll be funding available for next year really in our operating budget. With that being said, with the ARPA bonus payment from the state. The dollar amount is $317,664.39, which I'm asking you to appropriate as well. And again, this is so that all of our full-time and part-time contracted employees will receive a $1,000 payment for full-time and $500 for our part-time employees. So the total for that bonus payout would be $517,796. This is in line with pretty much every division is doing something very similar. There's a few that are spreading it out a little bit differently, but most of them are paying right around this time of year as well. If there are any questions.
When was that? When was the projection of that being paid out?
November 30th.
So we would like to put that with approval tonight in our employees' November 30th paycheck.
Okay.
Board members, any comments, questions?
Ms. Winfred, I'd just like to publicly thank Haney and her team. What you've just seen is a series of reports where a ton of hard work goes into making that happen. To have a year in balance where it is with everything that we encountered last year that we didn't anticipate on encountering through the pandemic, and to still come out on the other side with that money and the grant fund secured and the HVAC and being able to provide a bonus. And we had not been able to do it for our custodians prior because of issues and loopholes, and they're an outside contractor, but to be able to navigate that with Mr. Hockman as well, it's pretty special to have somebody on your team that can do those things in that way and bring it all together and keep us in such a great spot. So just want to make that point and thank Haney and her team for all that work.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
Dr. Nichols. There is one more item that we need to discuss, and that's the school construction grant program entitlement.
Okay, I take that back until you're done with
Oh,
that.
there it is. Okay. It's accounting 101 tonight.
You may remember when we were presenting our annual budget last year that it was kind of still in the General Assembly. There were some things, a lot of the finance director, we weren't sure how it was really going to come to us and kind of what the rules and guidelines were going to be. So we kind of paused on that. And now we feel a little bit more comfortable about kind of what we're getting and what our plan is. And so I would like to ask also that you appropriate $1,730,272 into our contingency line. What we can use these funds on a lot of things, and we'll probably bring this back to you at a later date. But our thought process right now is really that we would shift these funds into our Quinton project, which would then free up funding for potentially a New Kent Elementary School renovation or that school set-aside account that I was just speaking about, just making sure really that we had some carryover funding in addition to what we have now for Quinton that we could pass over into that school set-aside. So again, just being creative about the rules and what we're allowed to do with these funds to really try to set us up for another successful CIP project down the road. So that's an additional ask tonight.
And board members, what that allows us to do, so you have 1.7 million construction funds that we received, plus the savings on Quinton, which will be at least $500,000, if not more, the $250,000 that we already have and set aside. So as we look at a New Kent Elementary renovation, we're closing in on already having $2.5 million. Which is not nearly enough to do that, but it gets us started with design, it gets us momentum, and we're able to do that with existing funds without having to go and do additional things.
And I will just make mention that with all of these appropriations that we're asking for this evening, because they are over 1% of the total county budget, they will be having a public hearing at their next meeting on Wednesday, basically just letting the public know that we're increasing our budget by that amount.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next is the vehicle remarketing request. Mr. Hockman.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Nichols, I am bringing to you a vehicle remarketing request for 5 vehicles. These are late model vehicles, and at this point they are beyond their economic life. All 5 of these vehicles, if we continue to keep them in our fleet, require lots of parts and service. So at this point, we feel we are better off to pass these along to some other folks.
Okay, board members, any questions or comments? All right, thank you very much.
Thank
This
you.
comes as well as a action item later. All right, our next item is the healthcare premium holiday. Ms. Anderson.
Good evening again, Madam Chair, Board, Dr. Nichols. I'm pleased to come to you this evening with a request for funding for our employees. As you know, one of our major goals is the retention of staff. And with increased costs in healthcare this year, I find it to be equally or really important to try to continue the holiday that you've granted the past few years. So this is a premium holiday in December. With your approval, our employees that are covered under our medical and dental insurance would not pay the premiums for the month of December. And, you know, again, this just contributing to helping them out. They've paid into the system and just giving them that holiday as a thank you, really, for their hard work and dedication to the county. That cost to you will be approximately $89,000 for the month. Any questions?
Okay, any questions or comments, board members?
And is that for all school employees or just, I mean, all full-time employees?
Anybody that's drawing our health
Okay.
care.
Yeah.
In the school division?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, our last item is the Special Education Advisory Committee. Mr. Dermeyer, again.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Nichols. Very proud to say that we have revamped our website through the division, the link for our Special Education Advisory Committee, as well as had a kickoff meeting on the October 17th where we had solicited membership and notification about our Special Education Advisory Committee, and now have a pretty good substantial group of parent representatives as well as teacher representatives for our Special Education Advisory Committee. All meetings are going to be held at New Kent High School. Aside from the February meeting, pending the weather, we're looking at possibly doing that one virtual. But all the others will be in person, face-to-face, with activities and information shared with those in attendance. So tonight I'm just requesting your approval of the members for the Special Education Advisory Committee and invite any of you to attend any of our meetings or serve as a liaison to our committee. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions, board members? Comments? Looks like a very comprehensive list. Okay. All right. We're not there yet, right? We'll go to old business. School board meeting date change. Dr. Nichols.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Swinford. Originally, we were scheduled to have a school board meeting, a regular meeting on Monday, January 16th, 2023. That is a federal holiday. The county will be closed, as will the schools. So what we're proposing is a date change to Tuesday, January 10th, 2023. But since it is a change to school board meeting dates, which you adopted, it does have to come back before you for a vote. We have checked with the county. This is open. So that was one of our decisions to make around that, is to make sure we had this facility open to us. So that is the requested date change. Be happy to answer any questions on that.
Okay. And that will come before us for a vote again later this evening. Anybody have any questions about that date? Okay. All right. Thank you, Dr. Nichols. Our next item is the citizen comment period. We have 2 speakers signed up. Before we begin, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight to speak. Please note that your comments are limited to 3 minutes. Once the timer sounds, please promptly finish your comment and return to your seat. It is customary for the school board not to make comment during the citizen comment period. Please make sure that your contact information is provided on the sign-up sheet, which which we do have, if you would like someone to follow up with you. So again, thank you for our speakers for coming this evening. We have two, as I said. Our first speaker is Ms. Christina Luntzer.
Good evening. Thank you, Madam Chair, School Board, and Dr. Nichols. I am Christina Luntzer, the SEAC Chair, Special Advisory Committee. I'm coming on behalf of the committee to first thank you all for hiring such a strong leadership team. They've been available, open, and very direct and present in a lot of situations. Our vision for the 2022-23 school SEAC is team. Together, everyone will achieve more. Post-pandemic, we think that is critical to bridge the partnership between schools and parents to see what is going to be next. Give me 1 second. Our vision aligns with the state's vision, and with that theme, we would also like to just suggest a few items for us to consider. Give me a second. Hold on. Before we do that, let me just announce that November 16th will be our first meeting. We will be creating grab-and-go binders for IEPs. May 10th, it will be our parent resource fair. So we hope that those will be huge this year. We would like to humbly ask that you all consider and hone in on the social and emotional health of all students, especially those with exceptionalities. We would also like to focus on middle school, self-contained, and hiring new staff, providing professional development, and equipping them with the services they need to make sure all students are safe and productive in that setting. And I know Mr. Dermeyer and Dr. Nichols have been very proactive with that, and we thank you. And then the final piece will be that we look at expanding the preschool program now that we have facilities that are working and availability, just to align that with the needs of the community as we're growing. So other than that, I thank you and appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, our next speaker this evening is Mr. Gregory Reimer.
Thank you, Dr. Nichols. Thank you, School Board. I'm Greg Reimer. I'm in the 5th District. Tonight I'd like to speak a little bit about civics and the role of the school and the school board with regard to civics. A republic if you can keep it. That's apparently what Benjamin Franklin said when he was asked on his way out of the Constitutional Convention what kind of government that they had created. Now, they understood taxonomies of government very differently in those days, and I think to our disadvantage. Aristotle had come up with a taxonomy that emphasized the kind of peoples and virtues that were associated with the government. Aristocracies were led by the elites. Tyrannies were led by a single man. Democracies were led by mobs, the demos, the people. And republics were different because they were a combination of all three of those elements. They had a popular element, they had an aristocratic element, and they had a tyrannical element. So what does all this have to do with school boards, you might ask? Well, my good friend J.B. Benson frequently harangues you all about civics and how he wants to know if you're teaching civics. It's probably what he really doesn't really wants. He wants to know what you are teaching as civics. Because the founders also believed that there was an important relationship between what they called Republican virtues in the population and the ability of a Republican government to succeed. Because Republican government is very much centered on the idea that the citizen is sovereign. And that sovereignty begins with God, because everyone is equal in God's eyes. We all have the same freedoms. and rights. And when a constitution is created, that citizen, those citizens, delegate their sovereignty or pieces of it to the government. And God is the guarantor of this relationship. As long as the people serve him and are virtuous, he will ensure that the nation and the government thrives. This, I'm already out of time.
Thank you, Mr. Reimer.
I thought this was too ambitious for me.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. Our next section is our action items, and we have quite a few this evening. So, everybody, fasten your seatbelts. We are going to go ahead and go through the action items. Section 9. First item is to consider the approval of the CIP transfer request for safety and security. Do I hear a motion to approve the CIP transfer request for safety and security and appropriate the funds as presented?
I move we approve the CIP transfer for safety and security.
Thank you, Ms. Barber. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. McBeath. Board members, any discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll move towards a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. All right, the motion carries. Next item is to consider the approval of the CIP transfer request for tennis courts. Do I hear a motion to approve the renewal of the CIP transfer request for the tennis courts as presented?
Make a motion, we approve the CIP transfer request for the tennis courts.
Thank you, Mr. Mead. A second?
I second.
Thank you, Ms. Staskill. Board members, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move towards a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Next item is to consider the approval of the CIP transfer request for HVAC grant matching funds. Do I hear a motion to approve the CIP transfer request for HVAC grant matching funds as presented?
I make a motion that we approve the transfer request for the HVAC grant matching funds.
Thank you, Ms. Staskill. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Mead. Board members, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move towards a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Next item is to consider the approval of the HVAC grant appropriations. Do I hear a motion to approve the HVAC grant appropriations as presented?
I move that we approve the HVAC grant appropriation.
Thank you, Ms. McBeath. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Barber. Board members, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move towards a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, none. The motion carries. The next item, 9E, is to consider the approval of the year-end transfer for fiscal year 22. Do I hear a motion to approve the year-end transfer for fiscal year 22 as presented?
I move we approve the year-end transfer fiscal 22.
Thank you, Ms. Barber. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Thank you, Ms. Staskill. Board members, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move towards a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. Hearing none, the motion carries. Next item, 9F. Consider the approval of state appropriation and bonus structure. Do I hear a motion to approve the state appropriation and bonus structure as presented?
I make a motion that we approve the state appropriation and bonus structure as presented.
Thank you, Ms. Staskill. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Mead. Board members, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move towards a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Item 9G, to consider the approval of the vehicle remarketing request. Do I hear a motion to approve the vehicle remarketing request as presented?
Make a motion, we consider the approval of the vehicle remarketing request as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Mead. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Barber. Board members, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move towards a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. All right, the motion carries. 9H, to consider the approval of the premium holiday recommendation. Board members, do I hear a motion to approve the premium holiday recommendation as presented?
I move we approve the premium holiday recommendation as presented.
Thank you, Ms. Barber. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Thank you, Ms. Daskill. Board members, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move towards a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. 9I, to consider the approval of changes to the school board meeting dates. Do I hear a motion to approve the changes to the school board meeting dates as presented?
I make a motion that we approve the changes to the school board meeting dates.
All right. Thank you, Ms. McBeath. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Mead. Board members, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move towards a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Last item is 9J, to consider the approval of the Special Education Advisory Committee. Do I hear a motion to approve the Special Education Advisory Committee as presented?
I make a motion that we approve the Special Education Advisory Committee as presented.
Thank you, Ms. Daskill. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Mead. Board members, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move towards a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. All right, the motion carries. It completes our action items. Our next section is comments, board member comments, and superintendent comments. Dr. Nichols, I'll let you go first, please, with your superintendent comments.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Swinford. And board members, we did have a number of action items and agenda items tonight. We made a very deliberate decision to break out those action items into individual requests, increase transparency. So you had 3 different CIP requests, just really kind of taking our time with those pieces. So thank you for working through that list. It also comes when we don't have a work session to kind of have a longer meeting, which is what we talked about. For my comments tonight, I just want to mention how great it is to have advisory committees and advisory meetings. So since we last met, I met with teacher advisory, parent advisory, and the newly formed community advisory, and we have a couple members here tonight. Each one is going in a little bit different direction, which is the beautiful part of it, is they really lead the direction that we go in. And I'm really excited to add an additional advisory. So on Wednesday of this week at the high school, we're having our first ever student advisory interest meeting. I hope some kids come. I have a feeling they might. And we'll get the student advisory up and running. So as we run through calendar, as we run through budget, as we run through summer and all of those different components, we're going to bring all of those through those different advisories. So when I come to you with recommendations, I have each of those lenses to make a decision, including my SMART team that I get to work with. So just incredibly proud of the work we do. We did some really big work tonight to recognize employees, to move facilities forward, and to really set us up for a strong future. And I'm just proud to be a part of this team. So thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Nichols. Ms. McBeath.
Oh, okay. Thank you. 2 things I would like to say this evening is, first off, I'd like to thank Dr. Nichols, the administrative team, and the leadership from Quentin Elementary School for the open house 2 weeks ago. It was wonderful. The building is beautiful. I heard many positive comments from the attendees. And the sessions that were put together were very well received. It gave folks an opportunity to ask questions. So thank you so much for that. And then secondly, this weekend from the New Kent Educational Foundation side, we had the 16th annual Bowl-a-thon. It was a blast, and from the school board perspective, we had a team, and Ms. Swinford was our captain, so really appreciate all the hard work and effort that went into that event. I understand that over 300 folks participated, and there were like 57 teams, and so looking forward to the final monies that were raised that go to a great cause for our schools, for scholarships and teacher grants and special projects. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. McBeath. Mr. Mead.
I just want to say a couple of things that as just how proud I am of how we've started off the year, and now here we are close to Thanksgiving. All of our our fall sports have pretty much concluded, other than a few playoffs. But it's great that we are back in full force, and with all of the fall from field hockey to football to volleyball, from the middle school to the high school, and now we're getting ready to start our winter sports. And it's just great with the participation from the parents and the students and the community in supporting all of these fall sports. And I look forward to a robust winter as well. So it's just been great to see that. The other thing is that I'll go back to what Ms. McBee said in the open house. We talk about this quite frequently, and I think that it's always important to acknowledge that, the school board as well as the central office, in my opinion, has always been a very transparent organization. And I think by having that open house, it really opened up the door for us to really show the public that it is an open door policy of communication, of considering people's thoughts and opinions, and with the forums that took place and the effort and energy that the staff put forward, it puts a great light on our community of how committed we are of doing the right things as a school board and as a central office. And so, again, I want to thank Dr. Nichols, Haney, and Hockman, and Allison, and Ross for all of their hard work, and the administrative staff over there for putting that together. So it's a real encouraging time, I feel, for our educational process in New Kent County as we go into the winter.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mead. Ms. Daskell?
Yes, I'm just going to mirror those thoughts of gratitude. As we were going through our consent agenda items tonight, I thought about what an incredible amount of work that is done by our central office team. So just very thankful for you, Dr. Nichols, and your entire team and everybody's hard work. We're closing out the first quarter, and having a son in high school, it's been a great first quarter. I think that things are headed in the right direction, and we are very thankful for your leadership. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Daskell. Ms. Barber?
Well, there's no better time than the present to be a member of the New Kent County Schools family, because that's what it felt like today. The elementary students in here with their parents, and it was so joyous. And that just brought me back to when my children were in elementary school, but then there was the warmth that was just really fantastic. So I appreciate all of our administrators and our principals and teachers that made that possible. And I'll also step over to the town hall, because I think that leads into the communication, and that was really a fantastic opportunity for citizens, because the amount of information that was shared that night made my head hurt, and I already knew most of it. So hopefully folks got a lot out of that. And hopefully we'll be able to do something like that again in a few months, several months, because I know that was a lot of work. And I also want to express my appreciation for all of the committees that you have set up, Dr. Nichols, because our first speaker night tonight was a perfect example of how that can be successful. She came with ideas and gratitude for the opportunity. So again, I think New Kent is headed in a great direction. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Barber. Everybody has definitely contributed to what I was going to say. I think we set some records over the weekend. I think it was probably the first time we had a bowl-a-thon with 80-degree weather outside, right? I'm looking at Ross Miller. I think we certainly set a record for getting hundreds of people inside on an 80-degree day. So it was great to see the support we had with the bowl-a-thon, with teachers, with their families. I saw some middle school teachers who've had children over the past few years. So it was nice to see the next generation, perhaps, of teachers. But anyways, it was a great event. We've just got great support from our community. It really is amazing how everybody comes together for a few hours on a Saturday afternoon in November. As Dr. Nichols said, we had a meeting with the Board of Supervisors on Thursday where Ms. Morheim got a chance to talk about the numbers again. And there's going to be a lot of growth projected in the county, and the Board of Supervisors is aware of that. They want to know the numbers, the projections in enrollment, talk about new schools, additions. So definitely there's the framework is being laid for the future, and I think we're in a great position. There's going to be a lot of work ahead of us, but we're definitely in a great position with strong leadership and good schools and strong projections moving into the next few years. So with that, on daylight savings time, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this meeting. Our next meeting will be our regular meeting on Monday, December 5th, 2022, here at the New Kent County Administration Building, starting again at 5:30. So with that, our meeting is adjourned at 6:41 p.m.